Question. Over a 15 minutes period, a truck travels on the road with many turns. The truck's initial velocity is 50 kilometers per hour, west 60 degrees toward north. The truck's final velocity is 80 kilometers per hour, east 60 degrees toward north. Calculate the truck's average acceleration in kilometers per hour squared. So this is the direction. This direction is north, also positive y direction. This direction is east, also positive x direction. This direction is south, also negative y direction. And this direction is west, also negative x direction. Now for the initial velocity, this is 50 kilometers per hour, west 60 degrees toward north. Now I draw the graph. This direction is north, also positive y direction, and this direction is west, also negative x direction. And the direction of initial velocity is west, 60 degrees toward north, so it should be here. So this is the initial velocity. And this is the initial y velocity. And this is the initial x velocity. And this angle is 60 degrees. Because its direction is west, 60 degrees toward north. Now from the graph, we can know that the magnitude of the initial x velocity equals the magnitude of the initial velocity multiply cosine 60 degrees. And this equals 50 multiply cosine 60 degrees and equals 25 kilometers per hour. Now we know the initial velocity just is negative 25 kilometers per hour. It's negative because its direction is the negative x direction. Then the magnitude of the initial velocity y equals the magnitude of the initial velocity multiply sine 60 degrees. And this equals 50 multiply sine 60 degrees. And this equals 43.3 kilometers. Now the initial velocity y just equals 43.3 kilometers per hour. Here is also per hour. So this is for the initial velocity. Now for the final velocity is 80 kilometers per hour. The direction is east 60 degrees or north. I draw the graph. This direction is east, also positive x direction. This direction is north, also positive y direction. And the direction of the final velocity is east, 60 degrees toward north, so it should be here. This is the final velocity. Now this is the final y velocity. And this is the final x velocity. And this angle is 60 degrees. Now from the graph, we can know that the magnitude of the final velocity x equals the magnitude of the final velocity multiply cosine 60 degrees. And this equals 80 multiply cosine 60 degrees. And equals 40 kilometers per hour. Now we know that the final velocity x just equals 40 kilometers per hour. It's a positive because its direction is the positive x direction. Then the final velocity y's magnitude just equals the magnitude of final velocity multiply sine 60 degrees. Now this equals 80 multiply sine 60 degrees and equals 69.28 kilometers per hour. Then the final velocity y just equals 69.28 kilometers per hour. Now we can get the velocity change x equals the final velocity x minus the initial velocity x, and this equals 40 minus negative 25 and equals 65 kilometers per hour. Now the velocity change for y direction just equals the final velocity y minus the initial velocity y, and this equals 69.28 minus 43.3 equals 25.98 kilometers per hour. Now I draw the graph. This is the velocity change of x, and this is the velocity change of y. Now this is the velocity change, and this angle is theta. This angle is a right angle. So from the graph, we can know that the magnitude of the velocity change just equals square root the magnitude of velocity change x square plus the velocity change of y, the magnitude of it square. Now this equals square root 65 square plus 25.98 square, and this equals 70 kilometers per hour. And the angle theta equals arc tan theta. The magnitude of the velocity change y over the magnitude of the velocity change x and equals arc tangent 25.98 over 65. And this equals 21.79 degree. Now we know that the velocity change just equals is 70 kilometers per hour magnitude. Now the direction is east, 21.79 degree toward north. Because this direction is east and this direction is north. Then we need to change the time from minutes to hours. So 15 minutes equals 15 over 60 hours. And this equals 0.25 hours. Now we can calculate the average velocity, average acceleration. The average acceleration just equals the change of the velocity over the time interval equals the change of the velocity is 70 over time interval 0.25, and this equals 280 kilometers per hour, and the direction is the same as the change of the velocity. It's east, 21.79 degree toward north.